Hi everyone, welcome to Bilateral Somatic Exercises for the Myofascial Meridians, presented by myself, Allison Wish, creator and founder of Yoga Somatics Online, offering Yoga Alliance approved continuing education credits for certified yoga teachers in somatic movement practices and yoga practices that incorporate somatic movement principles. So today we are focusing on bilateral somatic exercises for the myofascial meridians. Bilateral somatic exercises for the myofascial meridians, or BSEMM, as we will come to call it for the rest of the webinar, emphasize coordinated movement across both sides of the body. So every movement that we do on the right side is done on the left side. And these patterns engage entire fascial chains rather than isolated muscles. So in the exercises that we do, obviously we isolate muscles. We may speak about a particular muscle, but the global picture is to engage and visualize engaging this body map across the whole entire body and across entire fascial chains. Dynamic movements such as cross-body actions, spirals, circular joint motion, and multidirectional loading are part of the bilateral aspect of these exercises. And here are some of the benefits of these dynamic and bilateral exercises. They work to redistribute tension across fascia meridians in order to remodel tissues. Now, often what happens is that we get into habituated movements, which habituates our fascia. So what we do, as much as what we don't do, shape our fascial meridians, create the shape of us. So we want to redistribute this tension to remodel tissues. Stimulate mechanoreceptors that provide feedback and regulate muscle tone, returning muscles to a normal level of resting tension, or a more normal level. So we often get stuck in unconscious tension from mental, emotional, or physical stress. So these bilateral somatic exercises work to bring your muscles back to a more conscious resting level. Reduce localized trigger points caused by uneven load distribution, melting and reorganizing fascia adhesions. So again, injury or habituated movement that becomes unconscious can create adhesions, knit up sticky fascia, which causes trigger points and radiating pain, right? So the pain in your neck might be due to a tight shoulder. Trigger point therapy or bilateral movements and somatic release help to melt away these trigger points. Improve tissue elasticity and glide between fascial layers, reducing joint friction. So when your fascia gets all knit up and tight, well, it also creates extra friction on your joints and cartilage. So we want this nice slide and glide between all the layers in our fascial tissues. Recharge piezoelectric particles that convert mechanical stress into electrical signals, therefore plumping collagen fibrils. Now, fascia is full of collagen, and when we move, this mechanical stress or good stress creates an electric charge, and this helps to hydrate or plump your fascia and return all the weird tangled fascial adhesions into their nice crimped form so that There's greater slide and glide and tensional pull across the fascial lines. And bilateral movement helps also to sync brain hemispheres, which generate feelings of safety and grounding and calming for the nervous system. What we do on one side, we do on the other side, and this helps to make you feel more embodied, safe, and connected to oneself. Principles of multidirectional loading in somatic movement. Now, fitness is amazing. I come from also a background of fitness and professional dance. And of course, sometimes it's very important to prioritize output and intensity and measure what it is that you're doing to this outcome or goal that you want to obtain. Well, BSEMM works with quality versus quantity. Somatic movement becomes a sensory, cellular conversation, not just mechanical movement. So this aim, our goal here, is to unravel tension, restore choice in the tissues, restore choice in your conscious brain, your voluntary somatic nervous system, and re-educate the nervous system towards ease of movement and efficiency and feelings of support. So some things that we work on, some principles of multidirectional loading, are moving beyond linear. We live in a very linear world. We invite now in BSEMM the body into side bends, spirals, diagonal pathways. And so this way we expand your movement vocabulary in order to restore the body's natural, multi-dimensional, three-dimensional intelligence. So you feel your body, you feel yourself as a three-dimensional being. Low load. In somatic movement, load is subtle, conscious, and intentional, and is felt through gravity and body weight or a light resistance, like a yoga mat or a therapy ball. So that sensation leads the movement. Sensation leads the movement, not what you think the movement is going to do for you. So this allows muscles and fascia to respond rather than react. We're often very reactive. This helps you become responsive so that you could react more consciously. And this creates space for more change, physically, mentally, cognitively, emotionally. Fascial hydration. So this nourishes the fascial web, reduces stiffness from repetitive use, gym routines, couch potato-itis, driving a car, sitting in a bus, sitting at a desk jockey life. So this fascial hydration supports the flow of synovial fluid across all the fascial chains, your joints, in order to feel more elastic, spacious. And again, that word comes in responsive. So it's a cellular conversation, a sensory conversation. Sensory re-education. Changing direction refines your proprioception. Now, proprioception is your body awareness, where your limbs are in space, how you know to touch your nose without looking at it. And so this develops your internal awareness. The brain receives new information, and this interrupts your habitual ho-hum patterns and helps you reorganize movement with greater clarity and coordination. And the last principle here is pandiculation, a word you might have heard. Gentle, conscious tightening followed by a mindful release. You could think of this as contract, relax activations. So this helps to reset chronic holding patterns in the nervous system, in your brain. Tight muscles are in your brain, not in your muscles. And this reduces tension, restores a more normal length, and returns effortlessness to movement. Ultimately, that is what we would like, to feel that flow and effortlessness of movement. So the results of bilateral somatic exercises for the myofascial meridians is that by repeatedly loading and then releasing the whole entire fascial lines through mindful contract, relax activations, the connective tissue gradually adapts. This doesn't just happen in one day. It takes regular practice. However many years it took your posture to conform to what you do all day, well, it's going to take some time to undo that tension. And it does work because you're retraining your brain. So the fascial network reorganizes to support more efficient movement as it regains elasticity, as the muscles release this chronic bracing. This chronic bracing is unconscious. When you work with your somatic nervous system, you work to make what is unconscious conscious. Shine the light of truth onto your unconscious behaviors. And also your tendons become more resilient. So all of your soft tissues start to adapt to this new awakening. Some important definitions to know about myofascial meridians is that a myofascial meridian, as described by Tom Myers, is a long fascial continuity, a line of connection linking muscles, tendons, bones, organs, blood, every single part of the body, every single part of your body into one integrated whole. When these lines of pull function optimally, well, it creates this body-wide tensegrity, a word that we're going to explore in our next slide. So tensegrity allows tension, force, pressure, and movement, and especially sensation, to travel through the whole body in a more balanced and efficient way. Myofascial meridians are spectacular. They're more than just something that skims the surface of your body. It actually fills your space, creates your structure. So Tom Myers calls his work in myofascial meridians spatial medicine, because the myofascial meridians fill space three-dimensionally in your body, from front to back, from side to side, from top to bottom, from toes to skull, right to your tongue, acting as this internal scaffolding system. It supports and maintains and influences your form and how your form functions. Dissect this definition. Tensegrity is a combination of tension and integrity. Tensegrity is a structural principle where isolated, rigid components, let's say your bones, are suspended within a continuous network of tension. Let's say your fascia. Coined by Buckminster Fuller, tensegrity creates this stable and lightweight structure where components seem to float without touching. This system disperses stress throughout the body rather than breaking it at a single point. So you're thinking of these myofascial meridians, these lines of pull moving from toes to tongue, top to bottom, side to side, diagonally spiraling throughout your body, creating this sense of effortlessness. Who's Buckminster Fuller? He was born in 1895, architect, writer, inventor, designer. He made numerous inventions during his lifetime. And one of them that he's very widely known for is his geodesic dome right here at the Biosphère Montréal in Montreal, where I am from. So you can see from this structure here, the geodesic dome, that it's sort of like a spider web. Everything, when you move in one place, it creates a movement in another spot, like the trigger points. It's this ocean of goo and supportive scaffolding. Now let's dissect a couple of more words. Important ones, what this training is about and what a lot of my trainings encompass, the myofascial meridians. There are 3 parts to these words that we will be looking at: myo, fascia, and meridian. And then we'll take a look at the 7 C's of support and look at how describing the 7 C's of support in relation to myofascial meridian anatomy, so that you can better understand the what and the why behind the vocabulary. Why do I use 7 C's of support to describe myofascial meridians in order for you to be able to teach these concepts in a somatic and embodied way? Myo is a Greek root word for muscle or mouse, but muscle as well. And this is contractile tissues that create movement. Muscles are the movers. They create movement. Somatic movement focuses on restoring a baseline resting tone from a habituated level, which we spoke of a few slides ago as well. Bilateral Somatic Exercises for the Myofascial Meridians, BSEMM, embodied anatomy vocabulary. Muscles can be understood as rivers of support. Muscles create directional flow of skeletal movement and force. Think of the way a river channels through various terrains to the sea. A river runs downhill as gravity pulls water towards the lowest point, the sea. So in the body, this channel of flow is directed by the tensional pull of the meridians in relation to the shape and location of the muscles, our terrain. So describing the muscle within the meridian as a river directed by the pull of gravity acts as an embodiment tool to develop the felt sense of how shape and movement orchestrate function, your function, the function of your unique body. Fascia is another word for connective tissue. Connective tissue is another word as well for fascia. You will see them used together. The body-wide web-like matrix that surrounds, separates, and connects every muscle, bone, organ, nerve, fiber, and blood vessel, allowing tissues to slide and glide and transmit force, as well as communicate. BSEMM embodied vocabulary. Fascia can be understood as our ocean of support. Fascia is composed of collagen fibers embedded in the fluid environment of the extracellular matrix, what cells are living in, right? So oceans form a continuous body of water over the surface of the earth, and the ebb and flow of the tides create the rise and fall of the bodies of water across the planet. So think of the rise and fall of the tides as this tensional pull of the myofascial meridians. In the body, fascia forms a continuous 3D oceanic web that permeates and affects every single structure of your body. So describing fascia as a vast interconnected ocean acts as an embodiment tool to develop your felt sense of how the myofascial meridians fill 3D space in your body. Meridian, or channel, is a continuous line, channel, pathway, carrying tension, force, and sensory information from brain to body, body to brain, across multiple joints, muscles, and regions of your body all at once, simultaneously. BSEMM embodied anatomy vocabulary, a meridian can be understood as a C of support. Now we get to the core of the 7 C's of support. Seas are smaller than oceans and are partially enclosed by land or located where it meets the land. In the body, myofascial meridians are like the seas. They're expansive, they have distinct pathways of connective tissue that channel movement and organize how tension and compression travel throughout the body. Describing myofascial meridians as the 7 C's of support acts as an embodiment tool to develop the felt sense of how tensional pull of a meridian influences, directs, supports, and maintains this body-wide tensegrity. Balance of tension and integrity throughout, within your entire body. Let's get to the BSEMM, the practice. Some principles we look at in our practice is bilateral movements, dynamic pandiculation, body mapping, and body mapping visualization. We'll also look at how somatic movement and concepts are used to develop somatic awareness. So we'll look at the somatic context of these principles. Bilateral somatic exercises for the myofascial meridians. So bilateral movements. When practicing bilateral somatic exercises for the myofascial meridians, the emphasis should be on conscious and coordinated movement with mindful, slower, dynamic, rhythmic changes rather than force or intensity. So in a somatic context, exercises move both sides of the body in symmetrical patterns, encouraging the nervous system, your brain to muscle connection, to recalibrate your muscle tone across your fascial network. Dynamic pandiculation. We use dynamic pandiculation principles. So again, this gentle contraction, a felt sensing of the contraction, followed by a release in order to reawaken neuromuscular control, restore the resting length of the muscles. So this dynamic, multidirectional form of exercise explores side bends, spirals, cross-body patterns. So we'll be lying down mostly or standing up sometimes, exploring what it feels like to cross from one side of the body to the other that engage these entire myofascial chains, as opposed to just isolating one muscle and feeling it. We learn and sense, embody how this one muscle affects the whole and how the whole affects this one muscle. So in a somatic context, the objective is to move in a comfortable range of motion and pace, not too slow, not too fast, and allow your tissues to soften with each repetition. Soften with each repetition. So this incites fascia reorganization and rehydration, which is super important to maintain that slide and glide effortlessness. Moving on to other principles, body mapping, signature to the bilateral somatic exercises for the myofascial meridians. Body mapping is an embodiment tool where practitioners use their own hands as a self-assist in order to feel their way through the lines. So we shift learning anatomy from this intellectual process into an embodied process. What was once conceptual now becomes something one can feel, follow, and understand from within, cultivating a clearer interoception, felt sense. Felt sense, meaning that you feel from the inside out, meaning that you become more conscious of what you're feeling. And by doing so, you gain proprioception and a deeper sense of interoception, your body's perception of sensation from within. As practitioners map the lines on their body, they begin to sense continuity rather than our body as a series of isolated muscles and isolated parts. Touch really guides awareness, and hands-on mapping supports this process by supporting integration of structure, spatial orientation, and sensation. So it works all of our senses at once. In a somatic context, this transforms anatomy into an embodied language. Off the page in the book and into your body. The nervous system learns through sensation and experience, not memorization, allowing habitual tension patterns, again, that are unconscious, to reorganize in a more natural way. So instead of anatomy as something to be studied, it becomes something to inhabit, which is great for teachers to help you teach better, and which is a bonus for students because they go away with a felt sense of the anatomy. And body mapping visualization. Now we have body mapping touch. Now we have body mapping visualization. Subtle difference, yet profound difference. Visualization is a powerful tool in somatic learning because it brings anatomy out of a textbook and into this lived, embodied process. Rather than relying on two-dimensional images, anatomy is sensed as a three-dimensional moving landscape within the body. Every exercise that we do on any given day will feel different depending on the day and how we feel on that day and what did happen or what didn't happen the day before or right before the exercise. So our body is a moving landscape. Our anatomy is not set in the way that we think it is. This develops spatial relationships within the body. Again, deepening your proprioception, your body awareness, where you are in space so you don't walk into walls, how tissues layer, connect, and glide to become more tangible and even more meaningful. In a somatic context, visualization is not just something to see in our mind's eye. It is something we can feel, imagine, and experience internally. No matter how knowledgeable a person is about anatomy, visualization offers the freedom to interpret anatomy however they choose without worrying about doing it wrong. So many students worry about doing it wrong that they miss the full experience in the class. So this deepens perception, supports memory, and helps the nervous system feel safe. Feel safe enough to self-organize, feel safe enough to move slowly, gradually out of habituated movement patterns, and to self-organize, to move with greater confidence from that feeling of a nervous system that is regulated and grounded, and maybe even kind of joyful. The results is that over time, this attentive approach to movement with dynamic pandiculation and bilateral patterns helps to redistribute tension through the myofascial meridians, reducing trigger points, reducing pain, improving muscle elasticity, muscle efficiency, and restore efficient whole body movement patterns for that feeling of fluidity, grace, and effortlessness that we seek. Some testimonials from my beautiful students. Shizu, great balance of knowledge and practice. Each session brings me less pain and knowledge of my own body and its issues, those issues in the tissues that nag at us. Somatic movement helps to unravel and rewire those issues. Jane, Allison is extremely knowledgeable and sensitive to each individual body, making you feel safe. It's so important for me, for you to feel safe in your practice. From my experiences, I need to feel safe in my body, and providing myself with self-touch is one way that empowers me and gives me body agency, and I transfer that to you. And Kate, Allison is the best. Clear, precise, and highly effective. Thank you. And thank you. You can stay in touch. You have my links here. And if you click on the PDF, these links will take you directly to my virtual home space. So thank you for joining me. Again, stay in touch, reach out, ask me questions. I love connecting with my students. Hope to see you in bilateral somatic exercises for the myofascial meridians.